Hi, I'm Jasper Shen. I am the chef owner of a restaurant in North Portland called XLB. So XLB stands for Xiaolongbao, which is our namesake dish, which I'm going to be showing you guys today. It is a Shanghainese specialty that is pretty much a small steamed dumpling with pork broth inside it. So when you bite into the dumpling, there's going to be soup inside it. And what we're doing here today is we're doing a special little demo for AAPI month for all the state workers for the OHA. So yeah, I'm really excited to do this with everybody and to be on the panel and talk about some culture and some things that I'm very passionate about. What we do is a little bit different than your traditional way you do it in China. So we take a little bit of French technique that I kind of have learned cooking here for a long time and kind of incorporate it into a very traditional Chinese technique. So one of the things, example of that is the dough we make is a very simple dough. It's called a hot water dough. So in China, there's two main kinds of dough. There's hot water dough and cold water dough. So that only means is when you add the water to the flour, if you do either use cold water or really boiling hot water. So the difference is the temperature of the water will do different things to the gluten in the dough. So because these have to hold a broth inside, the dough has to be extra stretchy and a little stronger. So we do something called a hot water dough, is we add boiling hot water to the flour itself, and it actually creates more gluten and makes it stronger. So we make the dough, and traditionally what they would do is they would make little balls of dough. They would make a strand out of it and cut into little balls and hand roll every single one of that. So what we do is something a little different. We take this dough and then we actually sheet it on a big pastry sheeter, much like a pasta machine, and make it flat. And then what we do is we cut rounds out of the dough to start it there. It gives us a little head start on the rolling process because this is very time intensive and people intensive. So any little bit to help kind of like ease the pain of kind of standing here all day and making these things, it's great. So what we do is we make the dough, we let it rest for a while, and then create these sheets. And then we wrap them just to keep them moist so they don't get dry. Because if they get dry, they won't stick together as dumplings. So we just flour it a little bit so it's not sticky, and then we take this ring mold and cut circles out of it. And for us, each one of these little rings, each one of these little rounds of dough weigh about 9 or 10 grams. So the goal of this is to make the dough as thin as possible while keeping it structurally strong. So when the soup is in there, it doesn't explode and you lose all the broth. So I'm just gonna do a couple just to show everybody. So we start with these rounds and one of these Chinese rolling pins. So the difference between a Chinese rolling pin and a traditional, I would say French one, is that this is just a flat stick. So a French style, you like lift it up and roll it like that, where this is you learn to just roll it on the palm of your hands. So we take each round and we roll it. Try to make a round shape, and the goal is, you can see, is you want to try to get the inside a little thicker than the outside because that's where the soup and the broth are gonna sit. So we'll just do a couple here. And what I'm doing with the dough while I roll it is I'm just rolling it in and then turning it. So it's never a process of lifting up your stick or pulling it too hard to try to get that round shape. And the Next step is to put with the filling. So the filling we make in-house. It's a multi-day process, and we make a broth of roasted pork bones and chicken bones, and then we add gelatin to it and allow it to cool overnight. And it creates a kind of a jelly. And then we chop up the jelly and we fold it in with ground pork, garlic chives, cornstarch, soy sauce, rice wine, a little bit of sesame oil, and it kind of mixes together. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it, but we find that this is the easiest because it mixes all the soup in with the ground pork, rather than some people who create a little divot or cut the gelatin and the jelly into little cubes. We find this quicker and easier. So we just scoop this with a little cookie scooper. And then we pleat it. So to make these is a very specific pleat you have to do. So it's like a little basket pleat. So the hard part is you don't want to press on the filling because it will shoot out the sides and you won't get everything in the dumpling. So I'll just do it. And it's a motion of just pinching and turning as you go. So at the restaurant here, we make all of these by hand. We make the dough ourselves, and on a busy night, we'll sell 100 to 120 orders of these, and it's 8 per order. So we make 8 anywhere from like 800 to 1,000 each little dumpling in-house. Yeah, so I just do a couple more. Okay, and then we just take a steamer basket and these perforated steamer papers, which you actually see a lot for air fryers these days. And just put them on in. And then for these, we steam for about 5 minutes per basket. Okay, after 5 minutes of steaming, this is what they look like. And they're all ready to eat.